Aloha, everyone. Good to see you all again, and thank you so much for all your patience to our last topic about the perspective of Hawaii business who funds success in China. My name is Timothy Tew. I'm the Economic Development Specialist at DBET, and I'm today's host for the program. Before we start the sessions today, I would like to go over some housekeeping items. The webinar will be recorded for future use and playback. All participants are muted upon entry. If you have any questions for the panelists, please leave your questions in the Q&A box, and we will answer the questions at the end during the Q&A sections. Or you can push the raise hand button on your screen, and I will give you access to ask questions directly. If you are looking for more information about the whole series on the China market webinar or other high-step programs event that we have, you can go to Invest.Hawaii.Gov and go under the Expanding tab to explore more. Once again, thank you all for joining us today. And I would like to introduce Jamie Lum, the Manager of Business Development Divisions at DBET, to introduce us the High Step program. Thank you, Jamie.
Mahalo, Timothy, and aloha to everyone. Thank you for joining us this afternoon on the last of our China Market Series webinars. This webinar is part of our Hawaii State Trade Expansion Program, otherwise known as High Step. And we are able to offer this program through a grant that we received from the Small Business Administration. So this is an export development program that is intended to help increase the number of Hawaii companies that are exporting and to help us to increase the amount of products and services out of Hawaii into the global markets. So it's also for companies that ranging from those that are new to exporting all the way to those that might already be exporting and looking to expand further. So we have three integrated components of our program, starting with what we call our export readiness, which this webinar is part of that. We offer a series of webinars that cover various exporting topics or various information on markets. We do record these, so all of our past webinars are available on our website. As Timothy mentioned, all of the information on our High Step program can be found on our website, Invest.Hawaii.Gov. Also with the export readiness, we offer business advising services through our partners, the Small Business Development Centers, the Women's Business Center, and also with the Hawaii Pacific Export Council and other entities that we work with that help companies put together their export strategies and help them through this process. So that's all part of our export readiness. Another component is our Hawaii pavilions. We organize groups of Hawaii companies to participate in various trade shows. As you know, though, these events have been affected in the last year due to the pandemic. So we actually do have a few on our calendar for later this year, but there are also virtual programs that are being offered. So this is something that's still, as we go along and we see how travel opens up and events open up, we will continue to look at our calendar for the types of events that we offer. The last component of our program is our company assistance. Companies can apply for up to $10,000 to help to implement portions of their export plans. Again, because of restrictions on traveling and trade shows, which is where a lot of people request funds for, we are emphasizing other uses of these funds for e-commerce, for translating your website into various languages for the markets that you want to go into, for digital marketing. And there are other types of things that you can spend this funding on. So again, I encourage you to go to our website and look at this information. We are currently accepting applications for our company assistance through June 30th. So please, if you're interested, go on our website and take a look at that. So if you have any questions, you can always reach out to Timothy or Gordon, and they know how to get in touch with me. And again, thank you very much for joining us today, and I'll turn it back to Timothy. Mahalo.
Thank you, Jamie. So today is our last topic of the China market webinar series. And if you did participate before, you will know that we cover different topics on how to enter the Chinese market. For example, we did introduce the current market in China. We also cover the e-commerce in China, and we also went through how to build up your brand in China. So for the last topic of this series, we thought about bringing some Hawaii business who have been doing business and doing well in China, so to provide us some real examples, real business model for you to better understanding the whole pictures on entering the Chinese market and encourage people to consider expand their market to China. So today we are so honored to have two speakers with us today. We have Chris Kamaka from Kamaka, Hawaii, and Robert Zhang from WATG. Let me first introduce Chris Kamaka to you. He will be the first speaker in today's sections, and later on I will introduce Robert to all of you. As you may know, Kamaka Hawaii is a well-known brand in the music industry in Hawaii, specialized on making only higher standards and quality ukulele for the musicians. Chris oversees the days of operations and the quality control, making sure that every ukulele that leaves the factory reflects the standard to his family business name of 105 years. So many people saying that doing business is hard, but maintaining a family business is even harder. And doing business in 105 years, you could imagine how successful of Kamaka Hawaii is. They do really well in Hawaii. They also doing really well in other states. And beyond that, they expand their market internationally, like Japan to Korea. And Chris bring his family business into the Chinese market. And right now, my colleague in Beijing, Gordon and Flora, also recognize that if a musician's holding a Kamaka ukulele, people will know that the player must be playing really well in a certain level of skills. So let's just welcome Chris Kamaka and have Chris to share with us about his experience on entering to the Chinese market. Chris, please go ahead.
Yes, aloha everyone, and thank you, Tim, for having me. It's really a pleasure to be able to share what we know and what would possibly help companies for their future in China. If you wanted to set up that PowerPoint, I'd be happy to start from there if that's okay. Okay. We're located here in Honolulu, 550 South Street. We've been here at this location since about 1958 at this factory. And, there are certain things that are really important. My grandfather started the company back in 1916 in his garage in Kamaki, and eventually moved the shop to South King Street. And from there, once they were widening the street, he had to move initially out to the family farm in Lu'u'ulele on the Waianae side, West Coast. And eventually in 58, when my dad took over after my grandfather's passing, where we are located now, back in 1958, 59. And we currently have about 225 or so employees here at the shop. And myself, who am in charge of the production, my brother Casey, who does all of the custom work for a lot of our special orders and does a lot of our buying of the wood and stuff. Goes up to the Big Island, takes care of the raw materials. And my cousin Fred, who actually handles all of the business side of the company. We do pretty much export quite a bit to Japan, as well as Europe and mainland US, of course. In Japan, we have basically our own distributor, and they take care of all of our distribution to the different dealers in Japan. We just recently started doing this in China through our distributor, which we selected last year, Hopton Art. And their main office is located in Hong Kong. And we're very fortunate, my wife and I were fortunate to go over to Shanghai to visit their facility. And this just happened before this whole pandemic thing started. But this was back in November of last year. So we were very fortunate to meet with people at Hopton Art. And we were able to catch one of Jake Shimabuku's first concerts there in Shanghai. He was doing a tour through China, and we were able to take in one of his sold out concerts there in Shanghai. So that was fun. And just to see, the interest and the passion for the ukulele was a big highlight for us. Okay. China was always a very exciting to look at, because we always met a lot of them at the NAMM show, which is the annual music industry show that we attend in LA. And we were able to meet various people in the music industry in China, and I could really see the growth very apparent, not only by the amount of people attending the festival, but actually having booths and showing their merchandise. But the interest in the ukulele has really grown, and when we were able to get over there, we were able to visit some of the schools, I remember, and the kids learning the instrument was really impressive. And during this pandemic time, I was able to go online and see a lot of the various artists in China and different ukulele festivals that Hopton Art sponsored or really showcased a lot of their abilities, and it's very exciting to see. I think it's really important, if you can go back to that one, Tim, the one you had on there previous. Yeah, I think it's so important to have a good relationship, with people that you're doing business with. That's why, once we do meet people, and you get to know them, and you get to know what's really important to them. And if it's important to them, that importance is going to reflect on the relationship. So a good working relationship really brings out the best. They're going to be honest and trustworthy, and like I said here, being honest and trustworthy goes a long way. So eventually, develop these relationships through time. And for instance, in Japan, we've been with our distributor for many years, the Kurosawa family. It's a family business too. And their relationship with us has always been strong. And to keep the good relationship, it's important to, I think, to actually go there and to be with them and to see what they're doing and to see how important it is to them. And likewise, for us to go to China and to see what Sharon and Kelly, and Sharon's dad and Alex, they all have a good feeling for what they're doing, and it's important for them to share what we think is important in our instruments, and they can see they've been here too. They've seen the factory and how much love and we put into our work, and I think it just adds to the relationship. Well, like Tim said, we've been doing business for this year is 105 years. We've been through a lot. I mean, we learn by our mistakes, and we feel that the product that we showcase is pretty much the best what we can do. We try and keep the quality high. I don't like to, cut corners in any way. We try and maintain a consistent level as far as the tone, which is important. The bottom line is the tone of the instrument. And when you're using, quality materials and hardware, finish, and good workmanship, which I feel we have a very good crew here at the shop, that will only, promote itself. As I said earlier, creating a good partner, which I think we really have with Hoppenard, and they really, have that same feel. It's important, for us from Hawaii, we have that aloha spirit, and we try and convey that with our people that we work with, our distributors and our dealers, and I'm glad my wife and I had a chance to go there before the pandemic started, just to get an idea of their area of business, and just kind of collaborate on what we can do together to promote the product. The pictures on the top are from the NAM show, which we attend every year, but we haven't, because of the pandemic this past year. But that's actually, where we do a lot of interaction with people in the business, in the industry. And I know there were certain events that we had planned for this year. Hopefully we can start getting it going next year for different events in China. And I feel that it's important that we do attend these things to promote, and help our distributor market, our product, which we feel makes a big difference just to have a presence. Yeah. the work that we do, um, it's a lot of hard work. Um, Nothing good would comes easy. I feel that I've learned a lot through a lot of hard work and working alongside my dad and family members, as well as the employees that we have. Um, they take a lot of pride in their work. Um, it's a big deal to maintain a quality instrument that we have, and we continue to try and maintain that. Yeah, it's important, to have good employees. A lot of times in our business, it's on the job kind of training. Um, there are some people that are um, do well with their hands, and there are other people who just kind of come in and really learn how to do certain aspects of the manufacturing. And when you find people that really have the passion and enjoy what they're doing and really care about it, then you really have to take care of that. And so it's important for me to take care of the employees, as well as once, as far as your um, finding good people that are going to be marketing your product, just to be up and up um, with them. Um, so just like I said earlier, trustworthy and being true to yourself, as well as to the people that you're working for, will go a long way. Uh, that's a picture of one of our special models there, but I've got a couple instruments behind me that are actually going to China in the near future, to Hopton Art, and um, I just wanted to express my aloha and mahalo for having us. And if there's anybody that has any questions or anything that they'd like to ask me, I'd be happy to help.
Thank you, Chris. I know Chris pointed out a very important point. When doing business with China, you have to go into the China market to meet people, because many Chinese is kind of talking about face to face. They want to build up the relationship. Once you build up the relationship with them, you have more easy way to doing business in China. So that is very important that businesses, Hawaii business know to go into the China to exactly face to face to meet people. So you would know them in personally, and also they would know your brand. And for example, you bring the very good brand, good products, eventually they will be very successful in China. So thank you, Chris, for bringing up all those elements for us. So for the audience, just to remind you, we have Q&A sessions at the end of the webinar. So feel free to leave any questions in the Q&A box, and we will address the questions at the end. So now I would like to introduce our second speaker, Robert Zhang. He is the Executive Vice President, Senior Director of Development Asia Pacific at WATG. WATG is a company that specializes in hospitality design and has become the world's #1 firm in this industry. Many of you may not know, WATG started the first project in Hawaii in 1945, and Robert joined the WATG in 1996, and he relocated to Singapore in 2007 to assist with setting up their expanding office in Singapore. Robert returned to Hawaii in 2012 and focused on the growing business in Hawaii and South Pacific market. and also expanding, continue to focus on the Asia region, of course, including China. Robert has directly impacted WATG expanding portfolio in the Pacific Asia regions. And nowadays, I believe WATG has 9 different offices around the world, like in London, in Cairo, in Shanghai, in Singapore, of course. So I'm sure Robert can share a lot of valuable experience that could share on his perspective on the Chinese market. So please welcome Robert.
Thanks, team. Aloha. Good afternoon. I think a good morning in China and good evening on the mainland. It's a great opportunity and privilege to come here to share our experiences working in China. We have been in China for quite a long time. China becomes also a major market for the success of WDG. As Tim mentioned that the firm WDG actually in Hawaii, probably you may know the full spell out of the name better. It's called Wimberley, Allison, Tong, and Gu. Those are the 4 early founders' last name. And then we just changed the name probably 10 years ago to make it shorter, WDG. So the firm started in Hawaii in 1945. So the first project happened to be a Hawaii project. So after that, a major renovation of the Royal Hawaiian Hotel, the team decided that designing hotels or renovating hotels is really interesting. They want to do more hotel projects. So they decided to really specialize the design in the hospitality industry, in the hotel industry. So over the decades, the firm has become really one of the leading design firm in the hospitality industry. In some of the rankings, they even rated us as the #1 firm in the world. So if you want to be a specialist, you look at the Hawaii market, it's a bit too small. You can't have enough hotels for us to design to even survive the business, particularly when you talk about growth. So you have to go outside of Hawaii. So the early founders, like Wimberley, they look at a map and see South Pacific probably slightly closer than from the west coast of Hawaii. So they went to South Pacific, in this case in Tahiti, in the late 50s. And then after that, they moved to Fiji and some other Pacific islands, Solomon Islands, and then in New Zealand, in Australia. And then after 20 years of expansion internationally, they finally came to Asia, in this case in Singapore in the 70s. We were commissioned to do the Shangri-La project in Singapore. Through the work in Singapore, and then we can start to see, at least we can peek out to China at that time. So then you may have to ask a question, why China? I think for any firms you are interested in China, I'm sure you have reasons for that. You may have to think it twice or 3 times and really find out the reasons why you have the interest in China. In our case, you know, for designers, they're always looking for new cultures, sometimes can be a strange place. That all gets the designers excited because they like to immerse themselves in the varieties of cultures and interact with local people and really seeing how they live and cherish the relationships, conversations with them. And then, so that's one of the reasons. Another reason, of course, China is such, back in the 70s, that's such a mysterious country. It's big for sure. It's a long history, a very diverse cultures they have. So our designers and the early founders, they really have the humble and nimble attitudes towards it, and then always looking for opportunities to bring them into that mystery central kingdom. So under the invitation of Shangri-La, because we designed hotels for them in Singapore, our team was invited to go to China in 1978. So that's our first entry from WDG into China. It is very significant for us. Just look at the year 1978. What is the significance of that? You know, China and the US, they established diplomatic relationships in 1979, which means they weren't there before. The visa can be issued to the citizens of those countries to visit the other side. So they were under special arrangement, entered China from Hong Kong, and then was doing, actually looking at a few hotel sites for Shangri-La Group. So went to Shanghai, Guilin, that's in the southern part of China. It's a beautiful scenic city. And then and I was commissioned to do the first hotel in Shanghai, which is today's Bond in that area. We were designing an urban hotel for them. And then this picture was showing the presentation. You know, the gentleman standing to the left, I was looking at a presenter, actually that's more like a translator. I don't know who actually it is. That's Greg Tong, that's the T. He was doing the presentation of the Chinese clients, explaining our design. So that's the first encounter we had with China. In the following 20 years, this hotel project of Huaxiang Hotel, they were talking to Hilton actually at a certain time, and but the project did not proceed for whatever reasons, so was not built. And then so in the following 20 years, we were more kind of reactive to any opportunities in that country. We did see some challenges working back in those days in China. Payment is always an issue. How you get the money wired out of it. I can tell you one case, we had to carry some cash out of the country. So it's a lot of a hassle. And then the mentalities, the business practice, the legal framework, they were not in place yet for the foreign firms to do business. So it's more like a reactive until almost 2000, almost like 22 years later. We were also invited to go to a seminar in China. It's talking about hotel design. It's interesting, the conference organizers actually a design company. It's a small very entrepreneurship solo practice design firm. He wanted to use the conference to kind of promote their firm in lieu of the well-known international firms. So he contacted the US Embassy in Washington looking for the top hotel design firms. And then somebody came to talk to us. So we decided to send two people to give a talk on how to design good, efficient, well laid out, aesthetic, beautiful hotels. So I was lucky to be one of the two to go to China to speak to about 400 or 500 people attendees. They were all hoteliers from all over the country. So from that conference, we met quite a lot of interested parties from the audience, from the attendees, in talking about their project needs and wanted us to help them and so on. But we kind of screen out all of them, find out maybe one or two are interested. So we extended our trip to pay a visit to one of the client. That actually started the kind of new round of doing business in China. So that we say is kind of recommitted to the China market for more kind of proactive way to a bit more proactive, reactive way to more proactive way. So after that, and then we found out it's really because we don't have a presence over there. We don't look for agents on our behalf based in China. So you really need to look for the ways to how you can make your clients find you without a physical presence over there. So we found a lot of ways really going through the collaborators. Most of them can be your upstream or downstream of the food chain, and then really help them to know you. Hopefully, actually, most of them are overseas or international consultants, and then they may have some presence over there, and then you can work along with them, and then they can help to promote you. Like in this case, there's a castle hotel we did. It's really at that time was really a Star Wars property. We got some referral from them, and then introduced us to clients, and then ended up doing this German-style castle in Dalian in the northeast of China. It's quite a well-run the hotel right now. So you do need to looking for ways to collaborate. It can be, in our case as a designer, it can be like a feasibility study consultant, who is usually on upstream of the food chain. They do feasibility study first. Usually for the international branded hotels, it's kind of a requirement to have that kind of report. So, and then I mentioned hotel operators. That's another major referral sources for us as well. So you just need to look at that, who can actually point you to the potential clients in that market. And then our collaborators in China, the local Chinese design firms also can be a good collaborator and a referral source for our business. So make sure you also build a good relationships with them. So in a nutshell, what we're trying to say is you do market to those collaborators who can refer business to you. You make sure that you take care of their business and do a good job for them. Again, their confidence and trust in you. So in that way, so then you don't have a presence over there, but you can really, through the other marketers to market your firm, you can bring the clients to you, or they can help to bring the clients to you. Then after that, you just make sure, I think Chris mentioned that too, you really deliver a good product for them. In our case, we do a good design for them. In this case, that's actually our first build project in China. It's called New Central Grand Hotel in Qiandao Lake. That's in the Hangzhou city, in that area. It's a tourism destination in China. We met them, as I said, at the conference we went to speak at. We actually pick up these potential clients after the conference. We paid them a visit. We tried some opportunities, but it was not materialized until a year and a half later. They came back to us. They said, we found a project perfect for you. It's an island. It's barren, and then there's no transportation. But then we want to put a good hotel over there. So we did a great job for them. And then they were so proud of it. And also the success of the hotel actually also helped to lift the image of that company in China. Right now, I think a New Century Tourism Group is one of probably the biggest private hotel operator in China. So they have been very successful. So they're very grateful for what we did for them. And also the relationships has been established and enhanced through the service process. We actually built a strong rapport with the management team. So after this project, we signed at least, I would say easily 20 contracts with this group because they have various projects throughout the eastern part of China. So you want to make sure you deliver good products, do a good job for them. Another way you should look at it is really leverage your success in your home country or in other countries. More, I was referring to maybe developed countries or well-established markets. I see Chris case, they were successful in Japan and Korea, and then went to China. In our case, we're quite well known in Hawaii, and then in the Pacific, and then in Australia, New Zealand, and then Singapore and Southeast Asia before we enter China. Make sure that really they know the well-known products you have. In our case, like for this case, Hotel Barbara was quite well-known internationally. It's the first above the water hotels back in the early 60s. You can see a lot of these hotels these days in Maldives and even some Southeast Asian. But back in those days, in the actually late 90s, open in early 60s, that was kind of one of the only, the first one. The Chinese, they are very kind of brand conscious. They do appreciate your success outside of China. That gives them a lot of leverage to really have the trust, build the trust on you and on your product. Another thing is, it's been a myth. You probably have heard a lot of people talking about Guanxi. It all seems like you have to spend a lot of energy and resources to build a Guanxi. Guanxi means relationship, basically, in Mandarin. Then you can talk about a business. From our experiences, we agree with that, but only with the difference of the content of Guanxi is different. You don't have to really spend a lot of resources and energy to build a Guanxi without providing a service. We consider, and also we strongly believe, the best Guanxi is the best quality product you can provide to your clients. Through that, then you build a stronger relationships. As I mentioned, that our relationship with New Century Tourism Group, our first build hotels in China, it's really what do you do, not just wining and dining with them, and then you can talk about business. You talk about business first. I mean, that's the reason they actually come to you in the first place. So don't forget about that. So when you have a chance to provide a service to them, you make sure that you do great. How can you tell whether you do a great projects, provide a good service for them? For us, we look at whether we can get a repeat projects from them, or we can get a referral from them to some other new clients. That's a good test to see whether you're doing them a good job. We recommend you don't invest to build Guanxi for the sake of Guanxi. That doesn't make any sense at all. Always focus on your service. That's the essence of why you go to China. You're doing business with them. You're selling your products. You're providing your services. That's fundamental. Always keep that in mind. Another thing we find out is do not talk about some strategic relationship or strategic agreements. We paid some tuition in that regard. In the early days, at least one firm wants to form a strategic relationship. We sign agreements with them and so on. Because we were not there, so you don't know or you cannot control how they're going to use the relationships, the strategic agreements and so on. So they kind of take advantage of that, I would say, kind of promote themselves a bit, use our reputation, which is okay. I mean, in the end, after some time, we realized we didn't get any projects from them. So we just decided to terminate that agreement. So always focus on the things you do. The strategic agreements is more like a kind of framework. You don't really much need that to me. If they come to talk about the projects or maybe a collection of projects, that's great. We can talk about that, just focus on that. Another thing I think I want to comment on the relationship strategic agreements is you may, by signing with one party, you might alienate the other parties in a similar business. So you kind of narrow down your kind of referral sources in China. So keep that in mind as well. Another thing is always kind of, I guess, is a puzzle, and sometimes we don't know if we go to China to do business, whether do we take a Chinese way to do business, or we kind of still keep and maintain our Western practice. It's always a challenge, I tell you. So we're going there. Our experiences really tells us you have to make sure that you maintain that Western business practice. you need to make sure you get the money paid. You make sure you have a contract in place. No matter how great the relationship is you have, you always need to have something written. I mean, probably back in the 30 years ago, you may just say somebody was so trustful relationships in place, just tell you to do something, you just kind of, without anything, any written confirmation, you just jump into it. We did it quite a bit like that, and we were quite successful. But I think at this stage, you better have something in place, documents, written documents, and business documents in it. So you entered China not trying to just build a Guangxi as a Guangxi builder. I think it's more to be a trusted advisor to your clients. You advise them what kind of service is best for their interest. I think that's the target. That's the goal you should have. The Western business practice, as I said, we do maintain that we collect we call mobilization fee. Normally, I tell you it's 20% of a contract value. Back in 20 years ago, it was a foreign concept to them. They wouldn't accept it. It took some time to convince them or to educate them, because without that, we would not able to start a design for you, Mr. Client. So they kind of reluctantly embrace the idea. I tell you, the Chinese, they're a quick learner. I think only probably for 5 or 6 years later, I mean, that became a norm for the Chinese design firms as well. So it's it's quite interesting how open-minded they are and how easily they can change their practice, even though they talk about, oh, that's our Chinese way. No. Okay, when it comes to the fundamentals, you need to hold the firm. Don't blur the lines over there. And other things that they like to talk with you is, hey, give us, do more, or give us a discount price, or I'll give you the next project. Don't fall into that kind of discussion as well. Just focus on the first project. I always tell our clients, let me finish this project, do a great job for you before we talk about the next project, even though I pretty much appreciate repeated business and we really want to do the second project or third projects. But let's finish the first one. You can use that as a test to see whether our services satisfy you, whether you're happy with the product we designed for you. And other things I would say, I would not say you don't make any changes to that, but you just hold the fundamentals, the basics firmly. On other things, you may give away a little bit. For example, I tell you, they like to negotiate, and you have to understand that. If the person in charge of contact with us and then dealing with the contract issue, if they do not manage to cut our fee down, and their boss and the management would consider him or her not doing a great job. So you just have to factor that in, and you just have to mark up the fee. Like usually they talk about 10%. You just kind of mark up the fee and then give some concession to 10% to them. So that's a bit of Chinese culture over there. You just have to factor in, but we do mark up on that. So keep that in mind. We're not just kind of propose a normal fee you would do in Hawaii and just cut a fee by 10%. If you do that, you probably will be out of business, right? So that's a bit of things you can learn. I was using this picture that we designed a hotel. All in this picture, all the slope roof on the existing hotel, we're doing a renovation, but they want to add the new rooms. The flat roof hotels, the kind of modern style, we kind of blend these two styles together, and overall you can see actually it looks very nice hotel product. It's like kind of East blend with West style wise. So I'm trying to say when we talk about the way how to do business in China, you may hold your fundamentals firmly with some twist on the surface of the way to do business. And other things that people always ask is, okay, if I do business in China, do I need to become a China expert, or do I need to know a lot or as much as possible about China? It is good if you can speak some language. I think you always need to have the mentality, a desire to experience something new, something exotic, and particularly when it comes down to food in China. But I would say, if you don't have time to turn yourself into a China expert, try not to do that. Maybe it's better off not to know too much of China. And how do you tell knowing much China is too much? I always tell people, if the knowledge of China you accumulated, you possess, can affect you to make a business in China as it were in Hawaii, in US, I think you probably knowing too much of it already. You should give away some. So the bottom line is knowing that a culture, knowing that a market, to help you maintain your business practice, hold the fundamentals firmly. So that's how I would tell. If you make your uncertain, oh, should I ask for the payment? You know, should I ask for more time to do it? Should I tell them that they cannot use our design to other projects? Those are the things should not think for a second. You should just tell them right away, because that would be, you wouldn't do the same thing right away in the other markets in US. So that answers how much you should know Chinese. Another thing I want to just share with you is we find out that actually being a Hawaiian firm carries a lot of good features to it. Particularly when you talk about tourism developments, Hawaii is really the internationally renowned tourism destination for a long, long time. So they are willing to learn from you. They acknowledge that you must be the expert in the tourism planning and product designing and so on. And also we found out actually also sometimes you need to go in with the American brand as well. US is very strong brand when it comes down to technology, when it comes down to even the lifestyle, the fashion brands, and the hotel products as well. So you need to tie in both. When we entered China, we kind of promote WDG as an American firm that really kind of put us in at least in rivaling with the European counterparts and things like that. But also we emphasize the Hawaiian roots and experiences as well. The Aloha spirit, I can tell you, it works in everywhere. You know, it's always be positive and the sense of sustainability, and then the Ohana approach, the family approach. I think that works in China quite well. They like to say it's a family. I think it is a family in one sense, because you have different stakeholders in the whole process of developing a hotel project. So you have the owners, you have the government entities, you have designers, you have the consultants, and so on. So we'll all work towards one common goal, which is get the project done on time, in good quality, and render a good product into the local market. So that's all the common goals over there. Then you will see some, of course, sometimes some disagreements in the middle of it. How do you actually deal with the disagreements in the middle of the business cooperation? It really, really makes a huge difference. If we take that a bit of Ohana approach, try to solve the issues, but still maintaining your business integrity and business fundamentals in place, you can find a good answer. I mean, usually from our experiences, if you can actually go through the test and come out with some agreements and then some solutions to move ahead, it usually will render you a stronger relationship with the clients, with the other stakeholders in the process. Yeah, so I would say kind of take a both, Hawaiian versus US will help you to market. Payment is always a big issue when you do China business. I have to say, you need to look at China not just as a single market. It's really kind of more like a continent. Some regions in China is less developed, like in this area we're doing it with Carlton. I mean, this client is perfect. It's a great client. I'm just using the location. The western side, it's less developed. So their concepts, their business practice is further away from the Western business practices. You need to pay extra attention in terms of make sure that you get paid. We did get some burnout in a few cases. At least I would say easily in 2 projects in that area. We had a payments issue. But the good news is even much has been said about how bad to get the payments from China. I can tell you, if you work correctly and wisely, I would say, I looked at our records several years ago. The bad debt ratio in China actually is not greater than that in the US. You will be amazed. It can be done. But you need to be really maintain your business practice. Like I say, we collect a mobilization fee 20%, sometimes even more. When it comes down to some fundamental issues, you need to be firm, but maybe in a bit of charming way to do it. They may call Chinese way, whatever. But you just need to, the firmness helps. Sometimes a no is a very good answer, or maybe could be the best answer. You hear so much saying people do not like to say no, particularly in Japan. But I would say, from our experience, I can say you need to say no. You need to be very diligent. Make sure the invoice is being processed from client side. You need to always check with them on a regular basis. Unlike in here, if you bill them, they're going to pay you. That's not a concept in China. You have to make sure, check with them on a regular basis, and then also tell them if the invoice is not being paid, we will have some difficulty to deliver the next stage of design, and that always works with them. But you need remind them on a regular basis. And then other things I mentioned briefly, do not aim for the next project, even though you do. But I said if you're always concerned about the next payment, whether it can be paid or not, I would say you always aim for the next project instead of worry about the next payment. My point is, if you can win the next project, then you do not have the issue of the next payment of this project. So, which means you're looking at really building a long-term relationship with them, and we should do a good job and help them out. So the payment issue, it can be done. It just, we need to take more efforts and be more diligent on it. And then some people may ask us, it's too late to enter China because so much developed in China in the last 20 years. I can tell you the truth, when we recommitted to China around 2000, there was a hotel oversupply in Shanghai already. But take a look at what happened in the following 20 years. So my point is, never say too late. You heard Chris' story, they just entered China last year, even in the middle of a pandemic. So timing is not an issue. It's really your value proposition, your products. Is that what the market needs, and how do you market them? And that's the fundamental issue. You always needs to have a bit of humility, being humble and nimble. I put this project in here. It's Four Seasons in Tianjin. We actually went to this project under the recommendation of Four Seasons, but it's a very small project. They came to recommend us to do a back of a house. This hotel is a back of a house layout, which is you do the staff cafeteria, the kitchen area, and so on, and things like that. They recommended 3 firms, and only we responded to the client. And then we did a great job for them, for the client and for the operators. So it's a very small project. You don't make any money at all, but you got exposure to the client. And then they were so impressed. So they asked us to back of the house, beginning and the front of the house, and then the whole project, the whole hotel, we redesigned it for them. So it turned out actually later on the biggest, very successful project. So you just need to be humble, need to be nimble, and need to be sure of your product. So that's our pretty much experiences. I want to say, if you're still not so sure, which is totally fine, you just take your time to wait and see, to get some experience in it. Early days, we did participate in some trade missions, as Tim mentioned, to get to know, have a taste of the market, to know the people, basically. How you feel like them, how do you like to work with them, interact with them. China is a big market. It will not go away. It's so big over there. So whenever you feel ready to go, I think that's the right timing for you to go. So there's no need to rush. The market is big. They do have a huge demand, needs over there. You just need help to find out and define it. and then work very diligently, do a great job, provide a good service, and the success is going to fall into your grasp. Best of luck and great success. Thank you so much. Mahalo.
Thank you, Robert. It's really good. I saw all the pictures, all the beautiful hotels in China, make us really want to go there after the pandemics. And Robert also pointed one thing is very important is to make sure if you decided to go to the China market, just believe in yourself, believe in your business, believe in your product, be willing to flexible when you're dealing with people, but most importantly, stay focused, stay what you are, uh, and do the right things. Have a contract with between the business, the buyer, and yourself. And I'm sure later on, if you're not really comfortable right now at this moment, just wait, do more marketing research. And later on, China is so huge, the market is still here. And I believe the success will come to you in China later on. So thank you, Robert. And also thank you, Chris, to be our speaker today. So right now, I would like to go over the Q&A sections. So for audience, if you have any questions, please type in the Q&A box, or you can push the raise hand button and I will give you access to ask questions directly to the speakers. So let's see. We don't have any question yet, but I have a question for Chris. So as you may know, many people concerned about the Chinese market is about the IP issue. So when you have a good quality products going into China, maybe many of the people would would say copycat to copy your products. Do you have anything to protect it, or what do you think about this issue?
Well, we do have a firm that actually is taking care of our logo, um, and I guess they're handling it as far as all the legal aspects. We had some trouble. I think for one, it was in the Philippines,
Hmm.
but there was some trouble. People trying to uh, copycat, as you say, our logo, and but it was taken care of very quickly. So we're fortunate. My cousin Fred is able to take care of that as far as legally through a firm.
Hmm. I see. Thank you. Yes, I think there's some concern about that, but if you focusing, having a good relationship, find a firm to protect yourself, it should be fine when you're doing business in
Yes,
China.
yes, yes.
Yeah. And let's see if we have any question from audience. So Robert, I
Can
have
I say
questions for
something?
you. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Chris. Yeah.
I just wanted to thank Robert for his insight, and his, he's got so much experience, and I was very interested in listening to what he had to share. Thanks, Robert.
Thanks, Chris.
Oh, one thing, Chris, maybe you can share with us. I know you mentioned about a new project in China that you're going to do, the custom made guitar for one of the.
Oh,
You want to talk about it?
yeah, yeah. It's okay. He actually sent over a picture of what he wanted to us to fabricate for him, and it's pretty much along the line of what we do, and with just a little more of his touch in it. But he's very famous there in China, and promotes the ukulele and the music quite a bit. With the schools and throughout the country.
Yeah, yeah. I know.
But
The celebrity in China is work really well when you bring a brand or brand importers and you find one well-known artist to represent you. It worked really well in that way. Yeah.
and then just recently I've been able to see a lot more interest as far as some of these entertainers and musicians. They're just terrific.
Yeah. Thank you, Chris. So Robert, I get a question to ask you, like, when people talking about doing business in China, they always thinking about going in Beijing, Shanghai, Guangzhou, those tier one cities. What about like tier twos or the new tier one cities like Chengdu, Hangzhou, or even Hainan? Any thought or any suggestions? Should we go in that way instead of going to the tier one, the big cities in China?
Yes, tier one cities definitely are the usual resource center. It doesn't necessarily mean the market is over there for you. Like these days, after 20 years of rapid development, the opportunities to develop new hotels in Shanghai and Beijing, it's pretty scarce, I would say, very challenging. Our first project when we recommitted to China in 2000, it's in Hangzhou, that's right outside of Shanghai. We went there and we picked up that potential client because there are probably a dozen of clients came to talk to us, wanted us to go to see their project, to see the land. We picked up this one. We felt that they were most sincere client. So you go there to really, I always tell our team is, you go there not going for projects. You're, you're going there looking for people. The people you feel you can trust. You can build the trust of relationships with a short time. And then you go with the projects, no matter where the project is located. So I said that through that client, we went to some less developed areas. I mentioned the western side of China is less developed. If the clients from the east side, east coast, in the more developed area, that is okay. I'm saying is when you go to those less developed area and deal with the really locally grown clients, that you need to pay a little more attention because their mentalities are not fully there yet to fully embrace the Western business practice. So keep that in mind as you're looking for people to do business. You're not looking for a project, in our case, for a hotel. So sometimes the hotel project can be very appealing. It's great location in a great market. If we feel the client is going to be hard to work with, you may still have to walk away from them. So keep that in mind. But the tier one cities really have the major resources like the talents for the consulting knowledge. They are all pretty much based in Beijing, Shanghai, and Shenzhen. So you definitely will probably start with their, particularly when we rely on a lot of referral. So a lot of referral companies are based in Beijing and Shanghai. So that's always pretty much a must to visit.
Thank you, Robert. I totally agree with that. Like when talking about people in China, the northern people and southern people are totally different when you're doing business with different provinces, different cities. So get into the market that you know a person really well, that I really trust would really help your business to go in. Maybe you can go in tier two city first, but with a very well-known person, very trusted person, they may be able to help you to expand your market to the tier ones and help a lot of things doing that.
Yeah, I want to add another thing is really, I think even the sincerity we're looking, we tested the sincerity from the other side. At the same time, you also have to express your sincerity to work with them. I think it's both ways. So you have to really appreciate the culture. You have to demonstrate an interest in the lifestyle. So oftentimes we actually spend a lot of time on the dining tables. We talk about the families, which they sometimes do not feel comfortable to talk in China. But I like to talk about the kids and you know what they do and things like that. That really helps to bridge the gap and bring us really closer. Of course, I have some advantage because I was born and grew up in China. So once you can build relationships, you can pretty much disperse sometimes quite a few myths over there. I can say one more thing. A lot of people may tell you that if somebody refer a business to you, you have to pay a commission. In our case, we do not do commission in China. Because most of those people refer to you, they're not a professional agency. we agree to pay a commission if we can put that in the contract and tell the client there's a commission fee in the middle of it. I can guarantee you none of them would agree to do that because they're not professional companies. I mean, we do commissions in the Middle East. That's a culture over there, and they are the professional agencies over there. But in our case, in the business, when they refer business to you, they are not professional agencies. They ask for a commission. So we do not pay that at all. Because I can tell you, you don't know where this money will go. It can be very messy and murky. You may get yourself to the exposure of some unnecessary risk. And then a lot of people do not believe that. I can attest. So if you have the sincerity to really do a good job for the other side, you can pretty much circumvent a lot of practices in that country and help you to maintain your business practice in China.
Right. Thank you, Robert. So let's see if we do have more questions coming in. If not, let's see, maybe wait a couple seconds. Okay.
Jim,
Yep, go ahead, Gordon.
Gordon here. Actually, I have I have a question for Chris. Chris is exporting physical products, while Robert is exporting services. But for physical products, China is a very large, very competitive manufacturing, hub, and probably Chris must know that in China, especially in southern China, there are factories that make millions of guitars and ukuleles. Do you have any concerns that because the Chinese manufacturers are making much cheaper products, you are concerned with the competition from Chinese manufacturers?
As far as our product, I'm happy that there is a lot of manufacturers that do on the lower end, because a lot of people kind of really start on a more expensive instrument. They want to try and learn on, say, a beginner brand. So I don't really think of it as a competition. We just kind of stay true to what we do and keep our product on a more of a higher level, and eventually those people who do start on the lower end models will eventually upgrade to hopefully one of ours.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Okay, we do have one question from the audience. So maybe this question, both Chris or Robert, you can answer it. What is it like for a woman to do business in China?
Chris, you go first.
Well, actually, my wife and I were in Shanghai, and she was very impressed with the sincerity of the people that we were dealing with, and sometimes the women can kind of get a better feel of how people are, and I think it's just going to improve as far as for women to be more in the business line in China.
Yeah, in our experiences in China, the design field, particularly for the architecture, is kind of male-dominated field.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes down to usually like the dinner time, you usually have a lot of whining and dining. So you may really up to individuals. If I say, women, if you feel okay, you don't feel uneasy, it's okay. We do have some female designers go to China and travel to China. Absolutely fine to work with the clients and go some meals together. So I don't see much bigger issue to be reserved about it. But you just have to see, at least from my experiences, I see it's really most of the designers from the Western countries are really the males and gentlemen. So you may feel a bit kind of minoritized, I guess, when you go in there. But they are definitely okay. They're looking for expertise that you have to help them out. So that's still the bottom line. I think comes down to the gender.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think going to the China market, no matter it's man or woman, just be smart. Let like Robert say, stay focused, do the right things. I think that would be really helpful for the business owners. Okay, I don't see any questions coming in. So thank you so much, Chris and Robert. But before we officially end the webinar series, I would like to bring in Gordon again. He has a new idea that we could able to help Hawaii business to consider to expand their market in China. And I think this new tool would be helpful for you to consider and to use it. So once again, thank you all. And I will bring in Gordon to introduce the new tools, the new ways that he come up with. Gordon, please.
Okay, let me see, where is this one? All right, Tim, you see my screen share?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Hello, everybody. Thank you for coming to the last webinar. And after, this is the 11th, and after the 10th, actually we started to think that, what we can do. Our Deep at Beijing office is, based in Beijing, and we are supposed to give whatever support we can to Hawaii businesses. And after this series of webinars, we thought that, well, besides you have our contact information, you can always come to us, for anything that we can do for you. And also, we just think that probably after these webinars, and I do think that there are companies who want to start to, look at the Chinese market, and they want to, get more information, get some referrals, or connect to other, potential clients. And, we at Deep at Beijing would like to create a working group, will create a kind of mechanism that for interested parties in Hawaii to get information, exchange ideas, and talk to potential business partners in China. So we propose to set up some kind of connections via the existing social platforms, whether it is WhatsApp or WeChat. And we thought about probably in some companies, in some especially government institutions in Hawaii, people are discouraged to use WeChat. But if you really at the end you are going to do business with China and with Chinese, and then you have to use their, anyway, so if you use a phone, and then you have to use WeChat too, But at this moment, we can, set up a WhatsApp group, and the first one is my ID. And if you are interested in getting these, marketing information, shows, trade shows, or there are some kind of information you want to find, and you need some kind of guidance, and then we can, set up this kind of working mechanism. And afterwards, then if you are going to do with business with China, then you can find other ways, whether you stick to email or you want to use, international calls. And that's, your decision. But, WeChat is most popular with Chinese and the most effective. And for WhatsApp, then of course, as far as I know, you have to use your cell phone number to register an account. And but anyways, this WhatsApp group is only limited to Hawaii, businesses among, our internal discussion. And of course, you can think, as Robert said, there's no rush, and there's always time. And you think about what I ask you to do is that now you take out your phone, take a picture of this screen, you remember our contact information, and then you can send me messages either through WhatsApp or WeChat or email, or even just pick up a phone and call me. And then we'll decide after some time, probably in a week or so, then we decide whether there are people who are interested in doing in this kind of service that we can provide the information to the people in Hawaii. And then we will discuss whether we should set up a WeChat or WhatsApp or Discord or whatever, line, etc. And so in the future, that we can service the Hawaii businesses more effectively. And that's my proposal for your consideration. And we can join in our group some people like, like Chris, like Robert, who are successful in China, and they want to, they have already contributed their time and energy to give us this wonderful presentation, and they will be also very valuable resources for the future. If you have a problem and you really need some kind of guidance or advice from people who have experience. All right, that's my last proposal, and time is up. And thank you, and hope to see you very soon.
Okay, thank you all. Thank you, Robert. Thank you, Chris. So, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.